So Tom Ingram leading them round on this formation lap, ready to go onto the grid. The standing start and 15 laps of racing for the second race of the weekend for the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. The top three on hard tyres. The championship leaders with 1 point between them and two cars in between them as well. And one of them on a much quicker tyre. If, of course, it stays dry in the race. But if it gets damp and greasy, Josh, then a hard tyre is going to be worse. Hard tyres take longer to warm up. So if it's a colder day, which it's not, then it's less of a problem. But if the rain comes down, if you've got a slightly greasy circuit, you're on slick tyres, I think I'd rather be on a soft tyre than a hard tyre.
You'd think so, and because obviously you should get more grip on a soft tyre even with tricky conditions. But yeah, intriguing. Looking at the weather maps, are we going to get any in this race? There's certainly plenty of wind out there, isn't there? And that can affect the cars as well, of course. Particularly as they go round the fast corners, that can easily catch you out. Interestingly, Aidan Moffat has gone for hards as well, as has Stephen Jelly and Dexter Patterson from further back on the grid. So they're hoping that they haven't got the Ash Sutton weather forecast and it rains for race 3, because then they could look good, where otherwise about 2/3 of the grid are going to be on hard tyres later on.
I've seen that weather forecast, 3 o'clock.
Well, I'm not listening to your weather forecast after yesterday, Alan. You got it completely wrong.
No, I can only report. I'm not a weatherman. I can just report what I read. Dick Bennett's very famously, who's down here in the pit lane with me at the moment, has famously... I forget how many apps he's got on his phone to give him weather, but it's over 5.
Right, okay. Yeah. Well, I trust Dick. I'm not sure I trust you so much, but...
Oh, thanks for that.
Sorry, Alan. Right, here we go. 5-second board held aloft. Tom Ingram, eyes fixed on the gantry. He needs to get a good start. He needs to build a lead if he can. The red lights go out. We get underway. What's Ash Sutton going to do off the line here? Ingram with a good start. Camish with a good start, and a very good start for Ash Sutton, who's got ahead of Smiley already and is straight into third place, and now goes up the inside of Dan Camish. His teammate is on the curbs, riding them. Going to be side by side for second place here. The two Napa Racing UK cars. The inside line at the bottom of the hill will be with Dan Camish, but charging around the outside of him, under braking on those soft tyres. Ash Sutton making the most of the extra grip he had there, so straight up to second place. Nightmare scenario this for Tom Ingram. He didn't want Ash Sutton to be right behind him already. That is what's happened, and Tom Ingram is going to have to very wide car now for the rest of this lap to keep Sutton behind him on that soft tyre. So they make their way out of the hairpin with Camish down to third, Smiley down to fourth, Morgan is fifth, Chilton is sixth. So there's been a swap there off the line as well. Hill has stayed in 7th place, and Cook has gained a place up to 8th position as Ash Sutton goes closer and closer to the tail now of Tom Ingram. These two have had some great races already this season, and Josh Cook getting side by side with Jake Hill. Dan Rowbottom's had some contact and off onto the grass, and Jake Hill still just about fending off Josh Cook in that gold and black Honda. The 66 car got the better run through the chicane, but wasn't able to get advantage going up Clay Hill. So the BMW, which is a big, wide, heavy car, long wheelbase, hard to overtake around this Oulton Park circuit, and Jake Hill, the defending champion, made sure he didn't lose that place to Josh Cook, who's had some great battles already today, most of them with James Dorlin. Into Lodge Corner then at the end of lap 1. Tom Ingram holds on to the lead of the race for now, but Ash Sutton is coming after him. He's got better traction on those soft tyres as they head over the start-finish line. Tom Ingram is going to have to be super brave on the brakes here as he gets into the first corner, stays just about in the lead of the race. Morgan has got up to third place, meanwhile, with a better run coming out of Lodge Corner, so he's got ahead of Dan Camish. So Morgan on the soft tyre up to third place now. Camish on the hard tyre down to 4th. Smiley on the hard tyre down to 5th place. 6th place is Tom Chilton. And the race leaders now heading towards Island Bend. The onboard camera, if you are near a big screen, is with the driver in 2nd place, Ash Sutton, but he can't yet find a way through. Now the gap opens up and Ash Sutton dives down the inside at the Island Bend hairpin to get the lead of the race. Out onto the grass goes Tom Ingram, and he gets back on track and halfway alongside Ash Sutton, but Sutton's got the inside line as they come over Hilltop, and he should be able to hold on to the lead of the race, and he might also have company because Adam Morgan squeezing down the inside now with a better run over Hilltop, and Tom Ingram drops from 1st to 3rd, and if he's not careful he's going to lose another place here because Dan Camish is trying to come after him, but of course Danny's also on the hard tyre. So Sutton leads, Morgan though with a great bit of opportunistic driving there, and we've got one of the Vauxhalls off on the grass as well, I'm afraid.
So, yeah, that was all rather entertaining, wasn't it? Down towards the hairpin. I wasn't sure if Ingram was going to be able to fight back on the exit of the corner. In the end, he couldn't. But Adam Morgan, what a start to the race he has had. He's up into second position, the opposite to the start that Stephen Jelly's had, because he's down in the pit lane.
He's in pit lane, and there's all sorts of question marks. They've plugged in a laptop into the car. The car is clearly not doing what it's meant to do, and they're investigating now.
Yeah, he's had an absolutely horrible weekend so far, hasn't he, I'm afraid. It's been torrid for him. Meanwhile, Aidan Moffat on the hard tyre fighting away with Sam Osborne on the way into Old Hall Corner and just about fending him off as well. But he's outside the points in 18th place currently in the white number 16 BMW.
Chris Smiley's outside the top 10 already. Dan Rowbottom, who started 15th, just got the better of him at Cascades. Meanwhile, Tom Chilton's gone past his Team Virtue teammate Tom Ingram. So Ingram's dropped to 4th, but 2 of his teammates up onto the podium chasing after Ash Sutton. Meanwhile, James Dorlin was trying to gain a position down towards the hairpin, but he's much further down as well, so not a good start from James Dorlin. He was battling there for 15th position with Mikey Doble. The driver who qualified so well yesterday was James Dorlin, but Sunday not quite going as well as yesterday did for him. Meanwhile, up front, Ash Sutton just starting to break away from Adam Morgan. The gap was 0.24 of a second, but he's been quicker by 2 tenths in each of the first 2 sectors, has Ash Sutton, so he's starting to pull clear. Meanwhile, Daryl De Leon, he had a big go, didn't he, at James Dorlin? It didn't quite go to plan.
Yes, so Dorlin crossed the line at the start of this lap. De Leon crossed the line in 15th place, but he had a go at Dorlin. There was contact. That sent him wide, and he dropped behind both of them. We've got Dan Lloyd off the road with a big crash here. Remember, he had a huge crash here a few years ago over Hilltop. He's off the road, I'm afraid, and the safety car has been deployed. We've got a replay as well. The Vauxhall that we saw briefly off the road on the first lap of the race was Nick Halstead, and that was contact related as well. So Nick carried on, but he'll get onto the back of the pack now. And so the marshal's now looking and speaking with Dan Lloyd. He's got the door open and the marshal's chatting with Dan. We've got 4 onboard cameras on Dan's car, and yeah, he's just shaking his head. He's absolutely gutted with that. So that looks like it's out of Druids.
It's before Druids, Chris, I think, through the left at the top of Clay Hill, which...
just before the entry into Druids, yeah.
So we've seen big accidents here in other categories at Oulton Park throughout the year, so it's very, very good news to see that Dan Lloyd has been able to get out of his car, but he's inspecting the damage. The damage isn't on the right-hand side, so his car might have been turned around, mightn't it, before it got to the tyre wall, and are we going to get the replay of that?
Just the back end of it, so he just bursts into shot from the camera at Druids, coming out of that blind crest. It's a weird place to go off there. Druids, yes, but was there some contact? It feels like there may have been, but get 4 split-screen onboard cameras. You can see how violently, from that onboard shot, Dan Lloyd is shook around there. His first thing that he does is put his head in his hands, gutted, because this is a weekend that could have been a really, really good weekend for him, given how well he was going in qualifying until he had that ride height failure.
I think they're changing plugs on Stephen Jelly's car. I wonder if I can get a quick word. Can I? Stephen, what's the problem?
We did an engine change in between race 1 and race 2, and it seems whatever it is hasn't been solved, or we've got another problem. They just look like changing the coils there, the plugs. So we're going to go out and give it another go.
Okay, mate, good luck. You need a change of luck, that's for sure. They've finished that change now. The car is dropped down and they're sending him back out on the circuit. Stephen Jelly, he needs a change of luck this weekend, doesn't he?
I mean, if Dan Lloyd's had some bad luck this weekend, it's nothing compared to Stephen Jelly. It's all, like everything that's gone wrong for him, that could have gone wrong, has gone wrong, hasn't it? So really, he'd be glad to get away from this place, Stephen Jelly. Meanwhile, as you said, Josh, fantastic to see Dan Lloyd walk away from what was a pretty heavy impact. The Armco barrier and the cushioning certainly did its job there, didn't it?
Yeah, the cushioning, the rector cell, I think, isn't it? That's done a very good job indeed. One, keeping Dan Lloyd pretty safe. Obviously, you said whether the car made the impact, it was quite violent inside. The car doesn't look that badly damaged, considering the sides. That was really weird off, wasn't it? At the top of, has the car gone light and it will spin over the top of the hill?
Maybe that's a failure, a suspension or something, because there wasn't contact, that's for sure.
Yeah,
he was close to another car, but there wasn't contact.
Did he hit the curb on the inside? Because there's a raised curb, isn't there, as you go over Clay Hill? So he was behind Josh Cook, close, but not making the move. He was further on the left-hand side of the circuit. I wonder if it touched the curb, whether the car will spin over the top of the hill, or whether something else happened. Did something happen at the chicane that could have caused damage? Before that, we get looking at 4 different onboard cameras at the moment on the big screen. So out of Knickerbrook for Dan Lloyd. Everything is okay. He's got a pretty good run. He's chasing after Josh Cook. There is a big curb on the left-hand side. I wonder if there was contact with that curb and that unsettled the car and put Dan Lloyd into this violent spin towards the Retzel and the tyre. Well, as I say, I think the Retzel's done a good job, at keeping Dan Lloyd safe and actually not damaging the car as much as it would have been. Imagine if that hit that without tyres or anything like that. That would have been an absolutely enormous accident. I think Dan, more than anything, he's just gutted, isn't he, at what has happened rather than anything sort of physically. It's more of an emotional moment for Dan as he had that impact with the barriers.
Yeah, a very strange one, that. So we'll find out, I'm sure, in due course, whether that was something that went on the car or as you say, it was the curb that sent him wide. But that was very unusual to see somebody going off there. And as you see the speed that they carry as well as they come over that crest into the left-hand kink before they get to the turn.
I think what they're saying inside the garage is they think it was just the wheel on the grass that unsettled everything. That's what I was overhearing as I was just in the garage. And I feel so sorry for Dan, because he was saying to me when I chatted to him recently that the Oulton Park accident that you alluded to a few years ago, the very heavy accident in touring cars for Dan, he's still sort of recovering his career from, if you like, because the financial implications of that were huge. And he must come here with a certain degree of trepidation as he heads into Oulton Park. And I think if you were looking at the big screens and seeing how upset he was inside the car, I think that's all tied into what happened previously at Oulton Park.
Yeah, and a potentially really good weekend's gone, really, now. So he's going to be at the back of the grid, isn't he, for race 3. So the race distance is going to be extended up to a maximum of 3 more laps, so it could become a 17-lap race, this. We've got Ash Sutton leading the way, Adam Morgan second, Tom Chilton in all the drama getting up to 3rd place, with Tom Ingram, the first of those on hard tyres, in 4th, Dan Camish in 5th, also on the hard tyres, 6th place in the BMW's Jake Hill. He's quietly having a pretty solid weekend here, isn't he, after a bit of a struggle in qualifying. 7th place is Senna Proctor, 8th is Josh Cook, 9th is Aaron Taylor-Smith, and 10th is Charles Rainford. 11th then Dan Rowbottom from 15th on the grid. 12th Gordon Shedden, remember he was at the back of the grid on the hard tyre in race 1, made good progress. And then 13th place on the hard tyre, Chris Smiley. As you say, lost a lot of places early on in the race, Josh. And then 14th, James Dorlin, also lost out on that first lap. 15th, Mikey Doble, the last of the point scorers as it stands. Then we've got Darryl DeLeon 16th, Aidan Moffat 17th, Sam Osborne 18th, Nick Hamilton 19th, Dexter Patterson is 20th, Finn Leslie 21st, Max Hall 22nd, and Nick Halstead 23rd. Lloyd out, Jelly in and out of the pit lane. He's been in twice now, he's gone back out. And so for Ingram and Camish, this is laps being lost to the safety car, yes, but less time for them to try and defend from everybody else, but they'll get those laps back, or at least 3 of them back. And also, everybody's queued up right behind them now. So it's not, I don't think it's good news at all for Ingram and Camish. It is very good news, though, Josh, isn't it, for Dan Rowbottom and Gordon Shedden, who already made a bit of progress. They're on the soft tyre. I know quite a few of them ahead are on the soft tyre, but they're quick drivers, those two, and they've got a chance to charge through now after this safety car restart.
That's right, and they're looking forward to other people being on the hard tyre later on today, aren't they, to trying to build a good grid position for race 3 of the weekend with that partially reversed grid as well. And they are already inside a potential position where that will come very good news for them for race 3 of the weekend. But if they can make up more positions in this race, that will be even better. Good news, I think, for the remainder of this race is that the repair of the softening, the Retzel type barriers on the top of Clay Hill are being put back together. That cushioning's also, I think, helped the barrier not to get damaged behind the Armco barrier itself. So that's also good news. That means the race shouldn't be too much further away from continuing. We're on lap 7 of what could become 18. We started with 15 laps. I think we are now on our 3rd safety car lap. So it should become 18 laps. And restarts this year are very different, aren't they? Where the cars have to go at a permitted speed limit and then can't accelerate until the acceleration zone. And really, in that first race, we it was very evident how bunched everybody is, and gives opportunities for drivers to challenge up towards Old Hall and further around the lap. And that could be perhaps worse news for the likes of Dan Camish, who's the driver on hard tyres with more behind. We can see the tyre wall is continuing to be put in place up on the approach to Druids, the exit of Clay Hill. So I think one more lap behind the safety car at least will be necessary. And then this intriguing battle to resume. We know how quick those Team Virtue cars are this weekend. Can Adam Morgan or Tom Chilton do anything about Ash Sutton? Adam Morgan has had a couple of podiums over the course of this season. He's looking for his 12th career win in the BTCC, and could that come over the course of this race?
He hasn't won since Thruxton 2022, Adam Morgan, so it's a long overdue victory, but having had a couple of seasons in the BMW, coming back front wheel drive, he's driven both front and rear wheel drive, but because he started really the main bulk of his early part of career in touring cars in the family run, the Sicily Motorsport run Mercedes, and it certainly seems to have suited this car. He's having a really good season. Second place for him. Tom Chilton third as well. He's had a really good start to this season. He's got the fastest lap as well at the moment, which gives a bonus points. As currently, Ash Sutton is on course for 21 points, 20 for the win, and you get one bonus point if you lead a lap. And 13 points coming the way of Tom Ingram. So this puts Ash Sutton back into the championship lead as it stands. He'll be on 215. Tom Ingram will be on 208. And then Dan Camish on 156, with Dan Rowbottom currently on 138 and Jake Hill on 135 points, running fifth in the championship. Adam Morgan on 119 points would be sixth in the championship as it stands. Just getting more replays of this from this multi-camera angle. Yeah, it's just that grass, that muddy grass, isn't it?
Then I think the curb that follows it bounced the car up in the air, I reckon. It's hard to tell because the camera sort of cuts away, doesn't it? Just as the moment, as the team said, he's on the grass, and then there's that raised curb. And I wonder if it's those two factors adding together that just unsettled the car, and he just had no way of controlling it because it just launched the car in all kinds of directions and not the direction that the circuit was in, and you run out of racetrack really quickly at that part of the lap.
There's not as much weight on that front left wheel, which is the one that went on the grass, because he's going uphill at that point, so the weight's transferred to the back of the car, which probably made it a bit more sketchy than it would have been on a flat surface.
It's a scary moment, but from the TV pictures that we've seen, the car doesn't look very badly damaged at all. It's amazing that the tyres and the cushioning in front of the tyres, what Jorbert has done. Maybe when if Alan gets a closer look, or when the team start to have a look at the car, there will be more further behind. But there's no evident real damage on the car, which is extraordinary from the speed of the impact.
The team actually said to me they don't think the damage on the car is too bad. That's before actually seeing it in person in the garage, but they're quite hopeful that it's not too badly damaged.
Yeah, it kind of went inside on as well, didn't it? You get more damage usually when you go in at a three-quarter diagonal angle, but it kind of square on hit that barrier. So usually that is a better outcome than if you go in at a three-quarter diagonal and then you got damage to the front corners of either the front left or the front right of the car. So
certainly the work that Oulton Park have done to make that barrier as safe as possible has worked, because there was an incident here a few seasons ago in another championship where there was a very different outcome. So very good work from the circuit, always improving the race circuits throughout the UK. The circuit's in work with Motorsport UK, the governing body, and every time you come to different circuits, there are new things, aren't there, to help the safety of the drivers, and that seems to have worked really well there. Obviously, it's not the incident we want to have, but when the incident happened, we'd like to see our drivers get out of the car. And that's absolutely what we saw from Dan Lloyd. The barriers are repaired, lights out on the safety car. Yeah, and by the way, Stephen Jelly has been back into the pit lane as well. We overlooked that, but throughout this safety car intervention, Stephen Jelly's car has been down in pit lane. Yeah, it's been in and out of the pits, hasn't he, unfortunately. So very frustrating for him. But we are about to get the race back up to speed. So it's going to become a 17-lap race this now, with 3 of the laps that we lost added back on. And the green flags wave, single file over the start line they go, with Ash Sutton being shadowed by Adam Morgan and Tom Chilton. Dan Camish coming under fire from last year's champion Jake Hill, who's trying to go around the outside of him. One on the soft tyre, one on the hard tyre. The BMW on the softer, grippier tyre. And he sends it around the outside. That's a fabulous move from Jake Hill. He's
not yet quite got it done, but he does now, and down the inside he goes, and following him is Senna Proctor, and so Dan Cummings loses 1, 2, now 3 places because Josh Cook gets him on the exit. Now maybe he's going to lose a 4th place as well because he's just lost all of his momentum on the run down Lakeside into the right-hander at Island Bend. Aaron Taylor-Smith trying to come around the outside of him now, but I think the Yorkshireman just fending him off for now. There's contact on the way out of the corner, and Aaron Taylor-Smith now gets his nose in front of Dan Camish as they come up over Hilltop, but Dan's going to be on the inside line for the first part of the chicane at least. Will he hold on to the position? He'll try, that's for sure, and he does just about. So he keeps the Hyundai at bay, and all the while watching this go on is his teammate Dan Rowbottom. So Dan Camish, the victim of being forced out there by a car on soft tyres and then just not being able to get back on the racing line, losing all his momentum and losing several places there. So, as I say, not good news that. Safety car on the restart for those on the hard tyre. But Tom Ingram has kind of survived it all. Ash Sutton has certainly survived in the lead of the race. The Ford leads, and then we've got 3 Virtue Motors run Hyundais, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Then the BMW of Jake Hill. Then Senna Proctor looking very menacing as he come out of Lodge Corner, and he is right underneath the rear wing of the Laser Tools MB Motorsport BMW as they go into Old Hall Corner, but can't yet quite find a way through. And we've got more battles going on further back here, and sent out wide. Oh no, into the barrier is going to go the BMW of Rainford, which has gone into the exit barrier on Old Hall Corner, hit it, bounced off it, 360, stationary on the grass, yellow flags here, potentially another safety car about to happen as well.
Yeah, Dan Rowbottom had got past Charles Rainford towards the end of the previous lap, and Gordon Shedden was trying to replicate that move going up towards Old Hall Corner, and the 2 cars came together. Well, Rainford continued.
Fantastic, he's got going again.
So again, the barriers here at Oulton Park sort of bounced the cars off. The cars are able to continue without very much damage, but unfortunately the circuit furniture may be in slightly different order. So we'll see what happens next. We're on lap 11 of 18. Ash Sutton leads by about half a second from Adam Morgan, but through the first sector, Adam Morgan's fighting back. I'm sure there was a car in the middle there with a bit of damage. There was a bit of smoke as they went out of the Hislop chicane, but certainly Morgan and Chilton are going with the race leader here. Meanwhile, Tom Ingram in 4th position starts to come under pressure from Jake Hill as they turn their way through Druids. Dan Rowbottom on the charge. He's now all over the back of Aaron Taylor-Smith, up into 10th position for Dan Rowbottom, but Tom Ingram, he's able to fend off Jake Hill at least into Lodge Corner. But if you start to defend, that's worse on the exit of the corner, and the rear wheel bit drive BMW of Jake Hill, is he going to challenge up towards Old Hall Corner? Well, he can't because there are yellow flags.
Yeah, so last year's 2 championship protagonists, or main championship protagonists together now. The driver that won the championship in the end, number 1 Jake Hill, and the driver that pushed him all the way to the last day of the season, which is Tom Ingram. Tom on the hard tyre, that yellow flag helping him out there because certainly the BMW was lining him up, but they're out of the yellow flag zone. Now there's contact between the front of the BMW and the back of the Hyundai, and just about controlling the car, almost sent into a spin there and onto the grass was Tom Ingram. He jinked right, then left, then right to correct it. It's a fairly hefty whack out of the corner, but he keeps it ahead of the BMW. Jake Hill is trying to attack and defend at the same time here because he's got Senna Proctor queued up behind him as well. And Senna Proctor now in the green. Hyundai trying to come round the outside. Bit of contact between them. Proper touring car racing this. And then Josh Cook in the mirror is getting closer and closer as well. So Jake Hill, having attacked on the previous lap, now more or less defending on the way up the hill through Clay Hill and towards Druids.
And behind them, Dan Rowbottom went down the inside of Aaron Taylor-Smith to take 9th position. So Rowbottom's progress during the course of this race continues, but Senna Proctor's doing a very good job for his teammate, isn't he, to try and keep Jake Hill occupied to having to defend rather than attack the car of Tom Ingram. And Ingram, to be fair, isn't losing huge amounts of time to the 3 leaders, but how good was his car control at Cascades when he had that bump to the tail? It was on opposite lot, one way and the other, real tank slapper for quite some time, but Tom Ingram was able to control the car throughout that whole process. Meanwhile, Ash Sutton leads by half a second. Adam Morgan continues to chase after him with Tom Chilton in 3rd. Then that battle developing for 4th between Ingram, Hill, Proctor, Cook, Camish, Rowbottom and Taylor-Smith completing the top 10.
Replay of a very nice move from Mikey Doble to get up the inside of the 132 car of James Dorling, which is struggling in this race, even though he's on the soft tyre. He's out of the points now, down in 16th 19th place. Keeping an eye as well on Dan Rowbottom, who's flashing the headlights furiously as he came over the start-finish line, and flashing them to his teammate, Dan Camish, who's on the hard tyre. They're battling over 8th place. There we see on board with, that's the Darrell Leon car, isn't it? Contact at the hairpin has got some steam coming from the car now, so that might be a problem that'll send him towards the pits if it gets worse and worse. Meanwhile, Jake Hill is fending off at the moment. Senna Proctor just about, with Josh Cook breathing down his neck as well. They come up over the crest in towards that left-hand kink before they go into the right at Druid's Corner, and Jake Hill working ever so hard here. He wanted to attack Tom Ingram a couple of laps ago. Now he's got his hands full with a very rapid Senna Proctor, so Senna doing his teammate a good favour here, and Tom Ingram will be pleased to see that Senna Proctor is keeping Jake Hill busy. If he can get ahead of Hill, that will be pretty helpful as well. So they come over the crest. Over the line is Ash Sutton, Adam Morgan second, Tom Chilton third, and then fourth, fifth, sixth come through now. Dan Rowbottom has got ahead of Dan Camish on that lap, so he's the next in the queue. He's up to 8th place, and he'll be pretty quickly onto the back of this battle. In fact, he sends a missile Ford Focus on the way through Old Hall Corner. I can see him catching up already to the back of Josh Cook.
Meanwhile, behind, Gordon Shedden all over the back of Aaron Taylor-Smith. So Gordon Shedden, probably the best pace we've seen out of his Toyota Corolla over the course of this season. Further back inside the points, Chris Smiley is trying to hang on. He's got Sam Osborne and Darrell DeLeon trying to find a way through as they go down towards the island hairpin on lap 14 of 18. Meanwhile, Adam Morgan is just on the fastest first sector of the race as he tries to go with Ash Sutton, but Sutton did pull a gap out on the previous lap. Meanwhile, Dan Rowbottom now is going for another place. He's on the inside of Josh Cook. He's up into 7th. So a great drive continuing here from Dan Rowbottom, who started the race, I think, in 15th position, and now he's up to 7th.
The plan is working. Between 6 and 12 positions will get reversed as well, remember. So if you're in that zone, you've got a chance of a race 3 reverse grid pole position. And he's in the mix, isn't he? He's in 7th place at the moment. I'm sure he wants to get as far forward as he can, but there's an awful lot of smoke pouring from the front left tyre of Senna Proctor's car as he went through Druid's Corner. So he's got some bodywork, I think, rubbing on the tyre. It doesn't seem to be slowing him down at the moment, but it's getting worse and worse. It's coming through the corner as the weight goes onto the front left through the right-handers. That's where it starts to smoke. So still smoke coming from it as he goes through and into Old Hall Corner now. This is where the smoke will get worse, and I think it's the front left bodywork rubbing on the tyre. The worry is that it could cause a puncture. It doesn't always happen, and it can be that the bodywork rubs away and disappears, and it's not a problem. But every time he goes into a corner and the weight goes transferred over that wheel, smoke starts to come out of it. Smoke filling the face now of Dan Rowbottom, who is all over the back of Senna Proctor, trying to find a gap. The gap never comes on the way into Island Bend, but surely he's going to get a good run here coming out of the corner and try to pass him on the way over Hilltop. They're about to come through to Island Bend. Jake Hill, meanwhile, is closing back up to Tom Ingram. Here comes Dan Rowbottom. The inside line is covered then by Proctor, almost sends the Ford Focus onto the grass. He can't find a way through on the outside, sits behind him on the way through Hislops, tries again on the way into the right-hand section. Proctor, though, is fighting what feels like a losing battle here, Josh.
Yeah, I just wonder if the smoke was coming from different sides of the car on different corners there for Senna Proctor, which makes me wonder if there is a further problem with that car. But anyway, that seems to be getting less on this lap so far, so we'll see how Senna Proctor gets on. Meanwhile, Gordon Shedden continues to gain positions. He did make that move on Aaron Taylor-Smith, so he's up into the top 10 now. Is the multiple former champion Gordon Shedden. Meanwhile, Ash Sutton is being caught by Adam Morgan. The lead gap comes down to 0.4 of a second as they dive into Old Hall Corner, so perhaps a boost lap used there by Adam Morgan. Meanwhile, Dan Rowbottom has got past Senna Proctor. The car smoking in a straight line as well now as Josh Cook makes the move into Old Hall. So 2 more positions lost. Aaron Taylor-Smith is off the road. So another driver who's had bad luck all season. He would run in the top 10 a moment ago, and I think he's just pulled off in the place where Dan Lloyd had his accident just on the opening laps of the race. But for Adam Morgan, there are, 3 laps of the race to go, and he's just hit another fastest first sector of the lap as he chases after the race leader.
It's a nice move. It's out of the points, but a nice move from Dexter Patterson up the inside of Nick Hamilton on the way into Old Hall Corner as they switched hands for, for a 19th position. Meanwhile, Jake Hill, free of that battle behind now, has gone back after Tom Ingram and has closed up to him. So Sutton, Morgan and Chilton the top 3. Ingram on the hard tyre. remarkably hanging on to fourth place here. Hill coming after him, his adversary from the 2024 season. And then Rowbottom 6th now, ahead of that lead group, with Proctor falling back down the order. Josh Cook getting past him on the way into Old Hall Corner, as Josh described as well. And then Dan Camish still just about in the top 10 in 9th place on the hard tyre as well, doing a pretty good job. But he's got Shedden and Doble coming after him, and Osborne. Smiley is next on the hard tyre in 13th place, as we get a replay from the onboard of Aaron Taylor-Smith pulling off the circuit with a problem as Ash Sutton comes into Old Hall Corner. The gap between him and Adam Morgan is just 0.6 seconds on the last lap. 124.9 for Ash Sutton, a 125.1 for Adam Morgan. He actually responded with a slightly quicker lap there. There's all sorts of steam coming from Aaron Taylor-Smith's car as well. And
I think that might have been fire extinguishing you were seeing there, Chris.
Right, yeah, the fire extinguisher has gone off. He's out of the car. We've seen him looking pretty glum at the side of the car, so he's okay.
Which might just have been the brakes being quite hot, because they do, when they come to a stop, they haven't got the airflow, do just show a lick of flame sometimes.
Right, so out of the hairpin comes the battle between Tom Ingram and Jake Hill, two champions, of course. The reigning champion of the 2022 champion, Tom Ingram, glances into his mirrors, knows that there might be a threat coming here, brakes as late as he dares. Josh, Tom has been waxing lyrical about how good that car is this weekend, praising the team. But he's quite a humble guy, isn't he, Tom Ingram? You have to say, he's also been absolutely mega as a driver this weekend. He's driven the wheels off that thing, hasn't he?
That's right. No one thought a hard tyre car could finish this high up the order. I'm not sure if he was overly convinced when he was speaking to Alan Hyde earlier on the grid. He might be struggling to hang on to fourth position, though, because Jake Hill is challenging with 1 lap to go at the end of this. This is lap 17 of 18. Hill breaks late round the outside, but car gets very sideways because there's spots of rain down there at Lodge Corner, and perhaps just got caught out on that, did Jake Hill. And Tom Ingram again, continuing Chris's point, driving superbly to hang on to fourth position, but now with that question mark of what the weather is doing around the course.
Yeah, and Gordon Shedden about to fire one down the inside of Dan Camish to gain a place down, remember, on the hard tyre. So Gordon up to 9th place now, having a really good run. He's on course for a potential reverse grid pole position as well, depending on what number is drawn out of the hat. But Ash Sutton leading the way for the final time into Island Bend. Adam Morgan about a second behind him at the start of the lap. Then Chilton on his own in third, and then nose to tail for fourth place between Tom Ingram, who started the race as the championship leader, will now be second in the championship again, because Ash Sutton is on the way to another race victory here by the looks of things. He's also got the fastest lap now, so he's got all the points here, 22 points coming his way, with a point for leading a lap as well. So the question is, can Ingram fend off Hill? Rowbottom is also trying to get after them as well. He's quicker on the last lap by about 0.3 of a second, but he might be running out of time. The teams from Team Virtue and from Napa run up to the pit wall now to cheer their drivers home, because they've both had good results for different reasons here. Ash Sutton's decision to drop out of the top 3, if that's of course what happened, proves to be a good one, because he runs the soft tyre for this final race of this morning and goes through. The checker flag comes out and Ash Sutton takes victory. Second place to Adam Morgan, third place to Tom Chilton, and then what about fourth? It's going to be a superb fourth place finish for Tom Ingram on the hard tyre. Fifth place goes to Jake Hill, sixth place goes to Dan Rowbottom, and then it's Cook over the line in seventh. Proctor, with the smoke getting away towards the end of that race, finishing in 8th place. Shedden 9th with a good drive. Camish in 10th place, the second best of the drivers on the hard tyre. Doble 11th, Osborne 12th, Dorlin 13th, Smiley on the hard tyre 14th. He lost most of his places on lap 1. And then De Leon comes home as the last point scorer in 15th place, with Moffat 16th, Leslie 17th, 18th place going to Hall, Patterson 19th, Hamilton 20th, and 21st place for Rainford, with non-finishes for Taylor Smith, Halstead, Jelly, and I'm afraid Dan Lloyd.
Intriguingly, on the hard tyres, Camish's fastest lap was quicker than Ingram, so Ingram didn't have the raw pace. But as you mentioned early on, being up there in his early laps and hanging on is so crucial. And then he just drove well. He defended, but wasn't losing time. He didn't have a big queue of cars behind him, so he only had to worry about Jake Hill. And Ingram knew exactly where to put his car. So that was an excellent drive. And of course, him and Sutton have both had a first. They've both had a fourth, haven't they, over the course of the weekend? They've both got a fastest lap each. Well, did Ingram lead a lap in that race, or did Sutton get through before the end of the first lap? I think Ingram might have led the first lap, which would be an extra point, of course.
Can't remember now. It's a long time ago, wasn't it? 18 laps plus, what was it, 4 laps we had on the safety car. So, that's, I mean, either way, Sutton is going to be the championship leader now. Just looking at Dan Rowbottom's pretty good points all as well from that race, wasn't it? From 15th up to 6th place. He's got 10 points coming the way of Dan Rowbottom.
I can tell you Ingram did lead the first lap. It was lap 2 that Sutton got through. So that's
so
the
both,
only...
Yeah, both get a bonus point then.
So for over the course of the weekend so far, Ingram's got extra points for pole position, then leading a lap in that race. So 2 points he's gained, doesn't he, over those 2 races. So he'll be praying the rain doesn't come because he wants the other cars to be on hard tyres later on.
So Jake Hill's quietly going about his business this weekend with a good 5th place finish there as well, isn't he? So both get a point for leading a lap, a point for fastest lap coming to Sutton, and he got 20 points for the win. So he's going to be in front by 7 points by my maths, 216 to 209 points. And then we'll have Dan Camish, 151 points, still third, but closing the gap back up to him, Dan Rowbottom on 143 points now.
The 2 drivers who came through really nice in that race were Dan Rowbottom and Gordon Shedden. Rowbottom up to 6th. But that was, I think, the best we've seen out of Gordon Shedden this season to get the car from quite a lowly grid position up into 9th position. Confirmation of the points, and it is 7 between Ash Sutton and Tom Ingram, and those 2 over the course of the day are extended their margin to the rest.
Tingram, just as he went past the Accelerate team that are down here at Parc Fermé in plentiful supply, it has to be said, not surprisingly, 2 drivers on the podium. As Tom Ingram went past, he gave a big thumbs up from inside the car, so he's happy with that. It was a remarkable performance, wasn't it, on the hard tyre?